All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to my first Dharma talk and meditation meetup. Um, I'll just jump right into it. So, I wanted to cover why we meditate, and the reason we meditate is so that you can see your mind. Okay, so what is your mind? Any thoughts? What is your mind? What does it look like?
I always think of my brain.
Yeah, so there's a reason there's different words, right? They're different meanings. So how do you see your mind?
Is that the part that observes you?
Um, in Buddhism, we say that when you see your mind, that's getting enlightenment. So that's the reason we ultimately meditate in Buddhism, to see your mind. So how do you see your mind though? And why can't you see it? I mean, you can see your body, right? You have a body, everybody can see their body. You have a mind, how do you see your mind?
Mind is energy.
Well, so any time you're living and you're taking actions, doing things, thinking, all of these things create karma. And karma covers your mind like clothes cover your body. And so you can see your body if you take off your clothes, and you can see your mind if you take off your karma. So you have to first clear off all of your karma, and that's why we meditate. So it's a way to clear your mind, and therefore then you can see it. So uh, you're trying to attain clear mind, clear thinking, and clear action. So when you have a clear mind, you're trying to put down your ego, opinion, and desire, and just have a clear mind with nothing in it. So before enlightenment, your mind is like your understanding of your mind is like a dark room. So you can have a sense of what's there, and you can kind of stumble around and figure it out. But when you get enlightenment, it's like turning on the light. You can see everything that's there. So that's the point there. And so when you have a clear mind, clear thinking, and clear action, it allows you to let go of your ego, opinion, and desires, and then you can uh, you can think clearly about what to do, and then what your the action that you is appropriate in that moment is automatically clear. So that's the idea with meditation. That's why we're meditating. And so the way we meditate in Zen is we use a mantra to focus on your mind. And the idea is to focus on one thing, like a word or a phrase, and use that to push out all of the other thoughts in your mind. So if you try to think about nothing, eventually thoughts start to creep in and you'll start to think about something. So the idea is to use one thought to push out everything else and clear your mind. So that's what I'm going to teach today, is how to use uh, a mantra for sitting meditation. So you can see, I'm going to use Jason as an example, but you want to have your left foot in front of your right, and and your right hand, left hand touching thumbs like this. Try to keep your back and your neck straight, and you're going to close your eyes, and it's like you would be looking down at the ground um, at a 45-degree angle, but your eyes are going to be closed. And if you're sitting in a chair, you want to kind of scooch up a little bit so that you're not leaning back on the back of the chair, so that you're keeping your posture straight and not touching the back of the chair. So, and try to keep your feet flat on the floor as much as you can during the meditation. Okay. So with that said, we're going to go into a meditation. And for this part, we're all going to stand up and we're going to face the wall. And we're going to meditate facing the wall. Okay? And so you're going to have your eyes closed. But yeah. So you can just turn around and sit facing the wall. This is the tradition that I come from. Everybody, yeah, you can just turn your chair around and face. Yeah, so we're just gonna bow and sit down and sit down facing the wall in the position we just discussed. Oh, I forgot. You can just listen to this part. The mantra we're gonna use is Kwansam Bosal. So Kwansam Bosal is the bodhisattva of love and compassion, and that is supposed to bring good energy to you while you're meditating. So you just want to repeat that name over and over again. Kwansam Bosal, Kwansam Bosal. Just say it in your head, and I apologize a little bit for the background noise, but just any thoughts, any of the noise, try to block it out and concentrate on the mantra, okay? So we're going to do this for about 15 or 20 minutes here. And I'll hit the moktak to begin and the moktak to end, so you'll know when to open your eyes. All right, so we can all stand up and stretch out for a second. You can turn around now and just maybe put your hands over your head, wiggle your fingers a little. Just loosen up a little after sitting down. How was that? Hard? Yeah, the first time is always hard, but it gets easier.
I was in there. I was in the pocket for a while.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
always can go. Sometimes it's easier than others. So it's like any exercise, though. The more you do it, the easier it gets. So just stick with it, and that's a little bit about what I'm going to talk about right now, actually. So. Yeah, I remember when I first started meditating, it was really uncomfortable for me to even sit like this. And all I could think about was the pain.
Yeah.
And
The
yeah.
people on the other side.
Yeah, well, that's an extra
Yeah.
challenge, so that makes it a little more difficult here. But yeah, I apologize for that. But like life, there's always something you have to try to block out so you can stay focused. So yeah, so I don't think it's a very simple idea, but it's not easy, meditating. It's something I struggled with. I always was attracted to the idea of it and never really put it into a routine where I was practicing it until I became involved with my teacher in the temple I lived at. And then having a group sometimes can make it easier, to encourage each other to sit down for a longer period together. But I will just give an example here of, meditation. And so imagine that your mind is like clear water sitting in a bucket. Okay. Everything you do in life, every action, every thought, it's like taking a drop of black ink and dropping it in the bucket. So every moment you're doing things, you're dropping black just living your life, dropping black ink into the bucket. And after you've lived your life for a while, what was once clear now just looks like a bucket of black ink. And so that's what life does. It's part of life. It makes your mind cloudy with different things. And when you meditate, it's like taking a drop of clear water and dropping it in there. So every moment that you meditate, you're dropping clear water in that bucket. And so eventually, each drop, if at first you can't tell the difference, but you keep adding the water, and it gets clearer and clearer and clearer until your mind is clear. And so living life is the black ink, meditating is the water. And no matter what, no matter how much clear water in you still have to put in, you still have to live. So there's always some black ink going in there. That's the same for me. It's the same for everybody. So the important thing is to develop a routine of meditation that you can stick with. That you're constantly practicing and exercising that. And I think it's hard if you say, "Oh, I need to meditate an hour every day," right? So, my teacher used to have us meditate for 45 minutes. We did half of that today. But I think on your own, probably the most important thing you can do is just come up with a routine that you can maintain. And one drop of water every day is better than none. And it will eventually make everything more clear. So what that translates to is try to do a minute of meditation every day. Just and I would suggest doing it when you wake up, first thing in the morning. That way you don't forget, and it's kind of starting the day off on the right foot. So, and it's only a minute, right? You can just sit on the edge of your bed, or you can even do it if you're not too tired. You can do it laying down and just lay on your back and kind of keep a a conscious posture. Don't just like slouch to the side, just so you don't fall back asleep. So you want it to be something that you're practicing. So it could be, sitting on a chair, sitting on the edge of your bed, just 1 minute. Try 1 minute. And if you can do 1 minute every single day, your mind will start to become very powerful. And you'll notice a difference. If you can do it for a month, I'd say you will probably notice a difference. So just try it, maybe till next month, when we meet again. See if you can do 1 minute a day. It sounds really simple and easy.
Sounds trivial, but
it's very, very difficult to stick with and to remember to do every day. I've been training martial arts, and I do that every single day. That's a form of meditation for me. But at one point, I trained every single day for 16 and a half years, like 6,000 days in a row of an hour or so of martial arts training. So that makes you very powerful. But I think the consistency of everything you're doing is really the key, and doing something that you can achieve, that's not going to overwhelm you, and not putting too much on your plate that starts to interfere with all the other things you have to do. So if 1 minute becomes easy, try 2. If 2 is easy, go for 5. But always try to do at least 1 minute, and just see what happens. See what kind of changes. I'd be interested to see if you notice a difference. For me, that everyday practice was life-changing. So it completely changed my outlook on life. And
You're still doing it again?
yeah, I for those of you who don't know, I had a stroke last February, about a year ago. And I missed 4 days when I was in the hospital. And then immediately the day after I got out, I started training again. And when I lost my ability to walk in the hospital, so that's when I was checked in. I couldn't walk for a few days. Then and I think because of how much training I did, they thought they were going to have to put me into residential rehab to learn how to walk, and I ended up walking out of the hospital on the 4th day, and everybody was amazed. And
You attribute that to
I attribute that to my martial arts training, honestly, and the fact that I constantly was training my body to retrain itself to do all these different motions. But also the power of the mind is I think a, probably the strongest thing I had developed through that practice. And I looked at that practice as a form of meditation, and I think um, meditation can do much of the same things.
Can I
And
ask you a question?
yeah.
How did you change from before meditating to after 16 years of this? Like, how would you say you changed? Like
How? Yeah, it was drastic. I don't even know where to start.
Okay, you don't have to answer.
No, I'm just trying to say, like, the way I felt about myself and my life, and everything I had. I struggled with things before that, probably depressed, undiagnosed at certain points, really bad anxiety, and I don't have any of that anymore. So I feel it sometimes, but it goes away quickly because I have developed a routine where I can just flush it out of my system very quickly. So it's all about like lifting weights and doing push-ups. That helps you to be able to lift heavy things when the time is when you need to. Developing this routine helps you when you start to feel depressed or anxious. You have a routine built in. Oh, when I do this, it makes it go away. It makes it feel better. And maybe not all at once, but it lessens it and lessens it and lessens it until you get better.
I realized when I was meditating this a couple times, I was right next to Jason, but I was like, what come out of my body, like had to breathe out, like extra energy or something. Is that weird time? You know what I mean? Like I felt like I was relaxing.
Yeah, that's good. And I originally, like, I couldn't sit in this position, and I always felt uncomfortable. And at some point, I mean, just as an example, now it's comfortable for me to sit like this. So you can
I do better this way though.
Yeah.
Can I do it this way because of my?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Because the left.
Oh, left instead of right. Oh yeah. You got the.
That was.
Yeah. So
what is the symbolism of the left in front? Is that?
I'm not. It's the tradition and the way I was taught. I'll just say that.
No, that's good.
I don't have a clear,
that's the way.
a more symbolic answer for you, but that's the way I was taught in my tradition. And I think there's different traditions and there's different ways to meditate.
I'll try
And I think just trying to find something that works for you is the most important thing, and that is achieving these same kind of goals. Yeah, just to get a little bit more into like karma. Do you know what karma means?
Yeah, it's like something you inherit
That's
in past lives.
Yeah, I think you build karma through every life, and it carries through from life to life. And the way I would say one way to understand how it works is if you envision that your mind is like the clear water in a lake, and every thought you take creates wind. Every thought you make creates wind, and every time you move, it stirs the water. And so as you're thinking and moving around through your life just to survive and to do all the things our society, we have to do to live in our world and our society, eventually the lake water is churning and waves and creating all of this chaos, and it's not clear to see. You can't see through the water. It's churning up the sand from your life and all these different things. And when you at that point, you're at the mercy of the current and the wind and the waves, and that's your karma. So that is kind of why you can feel so overwhelmed in life sometimes, because you've built all this momentum from all these different things you've done, and it's pushing you in a certain direction. And the reason we meditate is to calm all of that down. It calms the wind, it calms the waves, it calms the water. And when the water is completely calm, it becomes clear, and the surface becomes like a mirror. And the mirror reflects the entire universe and everything around it. And that's like getting enlightenment. That's what that would feel like, you know. You become like one with everything around you. Just a perfect reflection in perfect harmony with everything. So that's how I would explain karma and how it relates to meditation. And then I call this a Dharma talk. And do you guys know what the word Dharma means? So Dharma is the natural truth. So, or the truth of nature. So if I say something that's true, that's Dharma. If what I say isn't true, even if I say it's Dharma, it's not Dharma. So always question what I say. Try to understand the truth. Sometimes some of these things, they take place in the mind. Enlightenment transcends words. I just use metaphors, imagery, symbolism to represent that. So, you know, if I tell you it's 7:55 right now, that could be true. But a minute later, it's not true. So it's the truth evolves too. So you have to always, you know, I might say something at one time it's true, at a later time it's not. So words can be misleading.
Yeah.
So the only way you can really discern the truth is to meditate, clear your mind, and keep seeking the truth. So that would be my suggestion to you.
Clear your mind and keep seeking the truth.
Yeah. And then you'll know what to do in every moment. So that's all I have to say for tonight.
Thank you.
Officially.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
But I'm happy to stay and answer questions or anything you had about tonight that maybe was hard to understand or anything like that. Or if anybody wants to share anything, now is the time.
I'm probably gonna leave soon because even though my mind isn't supposed to, I figured out some calculations.
No,
I'm kidding, and I need to go and like
I think it can
graph
be
them.
some.
Oh my God.
I've had very
That's how my brain
magical
works.
things happen when I'm meditating.
Yeah.
When you clear your mind, all of a sudden it clears it for other things to come in. So if you know what I call that, it's like when you till a garden, you till up all the soil and you're left with just dirt, you know, that's like rich and ready for something to grow. So that's what meditation does. But if you have a seed, like a question, and you plant that at that time, then all of a sudden it has a place to grow and it's not being clouded by weeds. And so that's one thing. And I did that when we started. I planted a seed before we meditated. I asked you, what is your mind? And so that's the big seed.
Yeah.
But there's also maybe a calculation you need to figure out. Maybe something in your life that's troubling you personally, but you don't want to think about it. You want to clear it out, and that emptiness in your mind creates a potential for all of these great things to come in. And so I think that's I've had a lot of experiences like that. So
Cool.
yeah, I think that's That's
It's
something.
Not necessarily, I should have been clearing my mind, but.
I know. I'm just saying it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
like
mean,
like if you've ever heard the story about Eureka, the guy who discovered density when he was in the bathtub, he relaxed into the bathtub,
yeah.
Oh,
and then the water went up,
yeah.
and then he
His
realized that
business.
there was a relationship
Archimedes,
between
yeah.
his volume of the water
That was
and the
Eureka
volume of
moment?
his body, and he
Yeah,
said
that's
Eureka.
Archimedes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I think that is a moment like that where
Yeah.
he relaxed, he started clearing his mind, and the answer came to him.
Wow. That's amazing.
So,
That's very
Yeah.
cool.
Cool.
but I don't think he was a Buddhist, or practicing meditation. But I think
But yeah.
I think everybody can have these moments, even if you're not taught about it. But that the more you practice it, you can actually harness this power and then create, more of these eureka moments in your own life.
Get rid of that junk up there.
Yeah,
That junk.
exactly.
Get that junk out of there.
Yeah. So
Like, yeah, I have to go soon too.
yeah, it's 8:00, so we timed it pretty well.
Yeah.
Like I'm going through a very anxious period in my life right now, and I'm like all tight,
Mm.
Mhm.
and I guess I'll just have to relax,
Sit and meditate.
sit and meditate.
Yeah.
Try to relax.
I think that will
See what happens.
it will help, and it certainly won't hurt.
Yeah.
And I think I had the same kind of thing, like you were asking how I've changed. I had a lot of that kind of tension when I was younger, and it really helped me to put that down
Yeah.
and relax and be more comfortable just with the way things are.
Yeah, that's it.
You
That's it. With the way things are.
there's certain things you can control, there's certain things you can't, and then focus on the things you can and
So it's
hope
like,
everything else takes care of itself.
yeah, and it's like you become comfortable with that thought.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna end it officially. If anybody wants to hang out and chat, that's fine.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
good.
Have a good night.
Nice
So.
to meet you.
Thank you, Master Rizzon. Appreciate you.